Today our class is going to last only a few minutes, and I need you to come along. And remember, from next week, we're going to be inviting you to send in your mails to us, and we'll read your letters, the fan mail. We're bringing that back because you want it. So you send us via email your messages, whatever you want to say, whatever questions you have to ask. We will make sure that we read them from next week. We'll give you the email, right? All right. So today we are looking at the woman whose photograph you see right here. Amelia Boynton Robinson. Amelia is spelled A-M-E-L-I-A. Boynton is B-O-Y-N-T-O-N. Robinson is R-O-B-I-N-S-O-N. Amelia Isadora Platts Boynton Robinson was born on the 18th of August in 1905, 4 years before Kwame Nkrumah was born. She was an American activist and a powerful leader in the American Civil Rights Movement in Selma, Alabama. A key figure in the 1965 Selma to Montgomery marches. My brother, my sister, how many of us have watched the movie Selma? My brother, my sister, she joined hands with some of the stalwarts of the civil rights movements, and many things happened. Now, the Selma to Montgomery marches were protests, in fact, 3 protests held in 1965 along the 54-mile or 87-kilometer highway from Selma, Alabama, to the state capital of Montgomery. The marches were organized by non-violent activists to demonstrate the desire of African Americans for what? Equal rights and justice. She was one of those. My brother, my sister, today we're looking at the life of this great black woman whose photograph you see here. So pretty. Lord God have mercy. Watch this. Amelia Isadora Platts was born in Savannah, in Georgia, to George and Anna Eliza, both of whom were African American. My brother, my sister, she also had some Cherokee blood and some German ancestry. Above all, she was African American, black. She was raised in the church. She joined the church from birth. She would go to church every Sunday, worship, read the Bible at home, go to the church and worship. My brother, my sister, she was raised by the church, and in church she had no problem. There was nothing like racism. My brother, my sister, she went to school, studied very hard, and when she finished school and started to teach in Georgia, before starting with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, in Selma, as the home demonstration agent for Dallas County, that was when she experienced racism. She saw how people discriminated others all because of their skin color. During the Great Depression, she witnessed so much racism. In 1936, at the age of 31, she got married. In fact, and had 2 sons, Bill Jr. and Bruce Carver Boynton. Her son, Bruce Carver Boynton, was the godson and namesake of George Washington Carver. We all know George Washington Carver, right? As history student, right in the African history class, he was an African-American agricultural scientist with so many patents to his name. He was also an inventor who promoted alternative crops for cotton and methods to prevent soil depletion. He was one of the most prominent black scientists of the early 20th century, George Washington Carver. She named her child after George Washington Carver. My brother, my sister, she later adopted two nieces, Sharon C. and Jermaine Bowser. My brother, my sister, this was what happened. 2 years before she got married, in 1934, she registered to vote. And there she was told that she couldn't vote because black people were actually not seen as human beings in America. They were like the goats and the sheep. And therefore, they were not considered human enough to vote. She was so offended. Having grown up in the church where there was nothing like any form of discrimination, went to school at home, she now saw face to face raw red racism. That was what she was told. Right there in Alabama. My brother, my sister, she couldn't take it. She joined us with other political black group. Yes, black political groups. And decided that they had to fight this so they'll be able to vote. A year later, in 1935, she wrote a play, Through the Years, which told the story of the creation of spiritual music and a former slave who was elected to Congress during Reconstruction based on her father's half-brother, Robert Smalls, in order to help fund a community center in Selma, Alabama. She published the book and she succeeded. In 1954, 20 years after this unfortunate incident of not being allowed to vote because we were not considered human enough, the Boyntons met Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife, Coretta Scott King, at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, where King was the pastor. And they sat under King. He pastored them and taught them the Bible and directed them towards the way to Jesus Christ. In 1958, a year after the independence of this nation, her son, Bruce Boynton, was a student at the Howard University School of Law when he was arrested while attempting to purchase food at the white section of a bus terminal in Richmond, Virginia. Her son was hungry and decided to go buy food at a bus terminal designated for only white people. The black side was choked, and he therefore went to the white side to get food because he was very hungry. He was arrested by the police in 1958, my brother, when Ghana was independent. America was still so Jim Crow, segregationist. They arrested her son and took him straight to jail. My brother, my sister, in Richmond, Virginia, he was arrested and accused of trespassing. My brother, my sister, and he was found guilty in state court of a misdemeanor and fined after staying in jail for a number of days. He appealed and lost until the case, Boynton versus Virginia, was argued before the U.S. Supreme Court by Thurgood Marshall, a black lawyer who we talked about in the African history class, reversing lower court decisions. Hey, in 1963, Samuel Boynton died. In fact, it was a time of increased activism in the civil rights movement, and Amelia made her home and office in Selma a center for strategy sessions for Selma's civil rights battles. Watch what happened. They continued to fight for black people to vote and to get their rights in America. She worked with Martin Luther King Jr., Diane Nash, James Bevel, and others of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. They fought to vote, and by March 1966, after the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, 11,000 black people were registered to vote. She had succeeded after over 20 years of fighting for black people to vote. Today we remember this great black woman. She married 3 times. Anytime she got married, her husband died. And this is a photograph here of Barack Obama and, of course, his wife, and sitting in the wheelchair there, my brother, my sister, sporting a light blue dress. This is the woman we're talking about. Amelia Boynton Robinson. Barack Obama, in fact, honored her. My brother, my sister, she was one of those responsible for making black people get the right in America to vote. My brother, my sister, she got married twice. Later in life, in fact, she dedicated all her life to black activism and the church. She's been honored. In fact, as you see, Barack Obama and the wife honoring her. My brother, my sister, this was on the 7th of March 2015, at the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And what was Bloody Sunday? The Selma to Montgomery marches that we talked about, the protests that were held. The police clashed with the protesters who were non-violent and gunned down a number of them. Some of them were beaten to pulp. My brother, my sister, today we remember this great black woman. Oh, mommy. Missy, why be what? Mommy, why be? Mommy, why be what? Mommy, a kai kai. She died a few months after Barack Obama had honored her in that wheelchair that you saw earlier. My brother, my sister, on the 7th of March 2015, she died in August the same year. On the 26th, my brother, my sister, in 2015, at the age of 110. Mami kai kai. In the burden of knowledge, I ask you, now that you know the story of Amelia Boynton Robinson, what will you do? She has been honored, as you can see right here, for the Bloody Sunday March. My brother, my sister, and she was so happy, my brother, my sister, that all these honors came her way. Even though she passed on, my brother, my sister, that same year, she got her biggest honor. She was a writer. She was also a screen playwright, a poet, and also a very powerful activist. My brother, my sister, even at over 100 years, she was still writing. And when her films were being screened, she couldn't even make it to the cinema because she was too old to move in the wheelchair. A CNN reporter was present at one of these ceremonies to discuss the film and her appearance at Selma. And she said she felt the film was fantastic. Which one was that? Selma. We talked about that earlier. 2014. You would need to watch that movie. Today we remember you, Mami. Mami uni nyamenko wati. Mami misiwa bi wati. Mami uni nyamenko. In the burden of knowledge, I ask you again. Now that you know the story of this great black woman, Amelia Boynton Robinson, what would you do? Bianani ole mini obafe yezunda kagare mezaka yine ye papango bokaya nang fifia ye nyanu kaina wo bana enwe be den lele anjima singa be konne lele anjima singa beri.
The emperor, the conqueror, the champion, the lion is here.